My journey with Classic WoW started with Season of Discovery almost 2 years ago. I had played a Shaman through the whole entire thing and went on an epic journey. Then I speedran it and managed to complete everything within 72 hours on a Priest. And finally, I took a warrior from a 0 all the way to a hero, completing an epic quest line and being awarded with the legendary weapon, the Corrupted Ashbringer. But one thing on my warrior I failed at was killing the final boss, Calderon. While I was there to witness it, I lay dead on the floor, not participating, but just watching how truly epic of a fight it was. But before I could swing that mighty weapon once more, Season of Discovery died, and the servers become empty, but then they came back to life thanks to some streamers and the servers boomed. However, the streamers started to quit, left, right and centre, and time was finally about to run out. With the Classic Plus announcement imminent, I had no idea how long the community would keep this version of WoW alive. This would probably be the last shot I ever got at doing this. So I took my Warlock, I got it to the max level of 60, got some basic gear, and this is the final movie of my goal to finish off Season of Discovery for the very last time. I had a full set of basic raid gear, the easiest which was to get, Molten Core, as well as a weapon from the raid the Zul'Gurub, but I was still a long way away from clearing the last boss in the raid. While my goal was in sight, the path before me was a long one. I've got a lot of experience with the endgame of Season of Discovery, but after such a long break, I was completely staggered on how to progress. I had signed up to Guzu's guild, which meant I was trapped between the rules of not being able to use the auction house or do any further raids. So I just couldn't speedrun it. I was at the mercy of time. That time could be used very valuably if I knew how to use it. So the first thing I wanted to do was get everything done that I thought might come in handy in the future, including getting a quest called the Demonic Deceptions, which will allow me to enter a dungeon, the Demon Fall Canyon. Are you someone like me though, when doing a dungeon or a raid can get high unstable ping that spikes as well as lag and even making you disconnect mid-dungeon or mid-raid? Yeah, the leader's not going to be too happy about this one.
That's a 50 DKP minus!
However, there is a solution to this pesky problem that plagues so many of us, and that's Gear Up. It reduces your lag and gives you a much more stable ping across a variety of different games by connecting you to a stable server, lowering your ping and latency. Even during the peak hours, Gear Up can still stabilize your ping, so I went from having spikes and disconnecting to a stable 19 to 20 ping with 0% packet loss. Being able to switch servers means you get much better ping if you ever want to play with your friends on different servers to you too. And it's super easy to use. Just one click and your game is boosted. You don't have to set up anything. Gear Up have also partnered with some big names like Discord and been involved with esports, but for World of Warcraft you may have heard of TSM. It's used by so many players in making gold, so it's completely safe and totally unbannable. So for the rest of the video I'll definitely be using Gear Up so I don't lose out on any more loot. If you want to become an official partner of Gear Up like me, check out the link in the pinned comment below and use my code to get yourself a free trial. And let me know how low your ping can go with Gear Up. On my travels to Booty Bay, I once again noticed a low level who didn't make himself immune to the Blood Moon event, meaning he would be attackable. So I set him on fire, then I leave him be a little bit. But I realised the guards do not like our kind around here during this event, and they start attacking me. I quickly managed to disable the madness. I then see the low level player is trying to do the same thing, but these little goblins just keep shooting him, and I watch as he bounces off the ship, ping ponging from each bullet into the sky. I guess it is true, cows can fly. While I do have lots of gear and dungeons won't really provide me with that many upgrades, I need to get the coins, otherwise known as the tarnished undermine reels, so I can make sure that I get as much gear as possible. I then went off to clear as many dungeons as I possibly could, collecting them reels and trying to get upgrades like the Smolderweb's Eye, a powerful trinket that I'd seen a few times but I've never managed to snag it, considering sometimes all 5 players in the party needed it. I had started this journey with 2 of my friends, Leofa and Forks, also known as Frodo Bangans, but Leofa had already quit around level 40, so it was just me and Frodo left. I was helping him get into groups a little bit underleveled so he could start working on his coins and get experience while I was there too. But dungeons was a little bit boring for me now because of this rune, Shadowbolt Volley. It makes it so my Shadowbolt is AoE, and while it's really powerful, it does get a bit repetitive pressing one spell over and over. I guess that's Lock Raiden in actual classic. I couldn't wait to go back to my firelock though in raids, and while the spellcaster trinket was highly contested, the sought after Hand of Justice was free for our only melee, the rogue. I guess everybody just wants to be a wizard these days. Then came Big Smoke. He didn't want to be a wizard, he was a warrior geared to the teeth with the corrupted Ashbringer, and my god did this guy melt mobs. I didn't even get a second to cast a spell before dead. This guy was definitely the pinnacle of power for Season of Discovery. I asked him why he was even in these low level dungeons, and he just told me for fun. And with that, I wanted him to stay in our group, as this would make coin farming so fast. We cleared through the whole of Dire Maul in record time, and then we just went onwards to more and more dungeons. The coins added up quite fast. We even went on as a 4-man to Strat Living, because with the corrupted Ashbringer, you could just decimate instances. We looted righteous orbs, which hopefully when I can finally use at auction house would sell for a nice amount of gold, as well as Frodo banging hitting that max level of 60, before Big Smoke finally had to leave us. I grinded out a lot of coins, but I needed a break from dungeons, so I decided to go and kill myself a world boss, maybe try and snag an epic item or two. In Ashara lies Azragos, god that was so hard for me to say, a big blue dragon, who was a pain in my arse for casters because he would teleport you onto him. Then he puts up a magic reflect shield, which means if you're not paying attention, you could quite easily one-shot yourself. I actually knew about this mechanic, so I didn't just set myself on fire and send myself to Narnia, but as he fell, I got 5 whole coins from one boss kill. Raiding is definitely where the coins are coming in fast. While on my coin farming journey, the game tried to get me to tank again, because I had a full set of world buffs on, and turns out with power infusion from our priest, they gave it to me each time because he was just a lovely chap. I ripped threat off the war chief, and he beat the living shit out of me. I won't go back to tanking, nice try. As we're killing the beast, some orcs run out of the back saying, "We are doomed," and then they just die to absolutely nothing. I'm pretty sure if they just stayed in the corner while we're killing this beast, they would have been fine, but I guess it's just zug logic. Having gear and confidence and overpulling can lead to some certain stupid situations, which I myself am also guilty of. You see, in the Imperial Seat, the last boss of Blackrock Depths, you gotta kill all the dwarves before you engage with the Emperor, or they come to his aid. The Shaman is pulling some mobs, as he should, because he's a tank, but the Shaman has an AoE burn rune. So when he's gathered up a few of them, he presses Flame Shock, which pulls the boss, and then leads to an army of dwarves come running at us, and people instantly dying. I tried to craft myself a soulstone, and I managed to get it off on Frodo, because this is death. When you're a shaman, you've got access to that spell. Well, it's, with great power comes great responsibility. I travelled far and wide, taking down the huge threats to Azeroth like the Doomlord Kazakh, a massive goat-like demon with a sword that puts many sword sizes to shame. I mean, just look at it, it's huge. Each time collecting 5 tarnished undermined reels. I had 114 now, but I needed more. I needed 175 in total. That's a lot. I went from one side of the world, travelling across the seas, to the other side, taking on Prince Thunderain with also his massive sword. Why do they just have swords and not axes or staffs? And I slay him, making Azeroth safer. We delved into the jungle ruins of Zul'Gurub, slaying the trolls there, hoping to get one of the mounts. Tiger or raptor, I'm easy. However, I've never seen the tiger. For some reason, I had a massive brain fart. You see, you have a stealth buff, and you're not supposed to speak to any of these ghosts. I watched someone do it, and I speak to them myself. Now I can't stealth. So when I walk out, I pull the entirety of the Jungle Book, and I get eaten, wiping our whole entire raid. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made to the loot gods though. And my sacrifice of the raid seems to work, as the very next boss that we kill, the snake Venoxis, drops Zanzil's band. I'm the only one that reserved this, so I get myself a massive ring upgrade. And there you have it. Wipe your raids, collect your loot. It's a new strategy. I was doing so many dungeons, I nearly forgot to get myself attuned to Demonfall Canyon, which required taking some Owlglands to the Emerald Sanctuary in Felwood to get the Shadowtooth Illusion Ward. And I didn't know it at the time. I'm going to be very glad that I did this achievement quest. Not everything was smooth sailing though. I did my first Scholomance and I had the AoE Shadowbolt volley talent again because it's massive damage. But sometimes I just can't control where the Shadowbolt goes. And as I cast it, it goes and pulls another pack of mobs. And the tank was not happy with me at all. I think he hated me. It does the most damage and will now slow down our run, but if it's becoming a nuisance, I will happily remove it for the greater good of the party. When I did, the rogue was still being pissy with me. And then he decides to pull the whole entire instance and a boss. But these add silence, so me and the healer can't do shit. and he dies, which means we all die. Then he says,
"Alright, one pack at a time,"
which means this is probably going to be a slow run. But the deaths just didn't stop there. While my Shadow Bolt was a problem beforehand, our rogue tank was made of absolute paper. He would just mass pull mobs for no reason and just die, causing us loads more corpse runbacks. I'm not one to quit though. We slowly persevered through the dungeon because there's so many bosses in here, which means you get a lot of coins for clearing it. And once I finally finished this Scholomance, I was done with dungeons. I'd farmed out nearly as many as I possibly could. I'd also done all the raids for the week. There was only one I hadn't done yet, which was Blackwing Lair. However, I couldn't get myself into a group. So I logged off and I kept re-logging on every few hours until I finally found a group that I would hope be the one to help me get what I needed. So I asked in the chat, what else do we need to fill the group? Before Dracogo replied with,
"To make good YouTube videos, Antijax, that's what you need, buddy."
Ouch. I like this guy. And the first boss was the exact boss I needed for an item, the depleted Scythe of Chaos. This is why I've had to save all my coins for that item that can drop in the raid, and it does drop off the first boss. I might be able to save myself 150 coins. It's rolled out, I see nobody rolling. Then someone rolls a 99 and I lose it, god damn it. That would have been so good to win, and I would have made a lot of gold with all the coins that I'm farmed if I did win it. But it is what it is, and I just gotta continue on. I've got 145 coins, so I'm nearly there anyway. We try our hand at the second boss. It's sort of a nuke fight because you end up doing a crap ton of damage thanks to him giving you insane regen capabilities. But he also puts ticking time bombs on players that'll blow up. And I don't know what exactly happened here, maybe someone that's a bit more educated in Blackwing Lair could tell me in the comments, but one of our tank dies, then the raid gets flame breathed and we all blow up and die. No clue. Death was a common theme for this raid. In the Halls of Strife, rogues are supposed to deactivate traps, otherwise you can barely move. I'm talking slower than walking pace, and we seem to pull the whole entire floor of Dragonkins while struggling to move. And this is before we even make it to the second floor. Half the raid's dead. Our group didn't seem like the mightiest of heroes. Death was one thing, and then came loot drama on top of that, where people was getting items that they didn't win, and arguing a lot. But we were slowly pushing through the raid. Then came the next boss. It's a dragon, a small one, and I won't lie to you, I've also completely forgot the mechanics. The leader didn't explain them, the leader didn't say anything after he was giving out loot wrong, so we just pull fire more. Then I remember you get a lightning buff on you. At 10 stacks, you zap all your friends. You also get a fire debuff on you, which at high stacks, kills you. So all you have to do is line of sight, let the debuff fall on, and go back in. But our raid seems to be very, very lost on what to do. And before we even do 25% of his health, chaos ensues, and we all die. People are already threatening to leave, and they ask the leader, why is he not saying anything at all? It's because he already got his item. He probably doesn't care by the looks of it. Then somebody else takes over and explains everything in a massive raid warning. We then spend around 10 minutes talking through these really hard tactics. I'm not joking, we stood around for a very long time. Well, partly because people randomly hearthstone to go and repair or something or other, and reading raid chat was an experience all on its own. We've had our little talk, we've got prepared as we can, we're ready to kill us a dragon. Just do mechanics and we should be okay. Let stacks fall off, and if you got nearly 10 lightning, move away from people so you don't zap them. We wait for the tank to get threat, nobody's dead. That's a good start. Seems as if people have finally learned. You move in and out of the walls to let stacks fall off and then the tank dies. Followed by our other tank dying. And that is once again a complete and utter wipe. The raid insta disbands as people just spam leave the group and we are not clearing Blackwing Lair. I did get a shot at getting my Scythe, which was the main reason I came for the first boss. However, I still got a few more coins. But that was probably one of the most demonic raids I think I've been in a long time. As I corpse run back, I decided, you know what, I'm done for the day. However, the next day, Blizzard was about to do something to me I really would not like. As I awoke the next morning and logged onto World of Warcraft, it turns out that my UI has been completely changed. The dark mode that I usually have wasn't so dark. Add-ons was bugged, my frames have been reset, everything was a mess. And that's because Blizzard had retailer-fied Classic, bringing the lovely raid frames and UI frames and edit mode. Oh boy, we can't forget edit mode, can we? So everything that was working fine previously is broke. I couldn't even move my own frames around, only one. I was freaking out, what a great start to the day. And then the next series events got even better. I'm 1 second late to the Zeppelin. You know when you're just having one of them bad starts to the day, a spill of coffee on your work shirt, it starts to rain as soon as you leave the house, or you miss the transport, or you miss the bus? Yeah, that was me. Then when I arrived at my destination, I fell into the lava, miles away from where I needed to be. Now I tried to lava jump without the weak aura, as the lava damage is on a ticking time basis, and if you can time it, you're not going to take any damage. And I did really well, but I didn't do well enough, and I burnt myself to a crisp. From bad to worse, as in the Molten Core raid in front of a lot of people, I jump in the air. Then I'm charged by a lava surger, and I fall into the lava. Just me on my own, with all the world buffs, and yeah, this is embarrassing. I think the gods have it out for me today. I just have to stand there and be healed and jump embarrassingly in front of the whole raid. At least after that really bad start to the day, nothing else happened, and we just smashed through it, collecting all of the coins I could, putting me up to a massive 181. And I'm finally done with a coin grind. Dungeons and these smaller raids, they're all behind me. So I went to purchase my last piece of tier from Molten Core, the legs. But even though I was in a raid group and I invited somebody, the prompter came up that I was going to be teleported out. I thought surely this has to be a bug because they've messed with the UI. And I tried to speak to the NPC to buy my item, but I just couldn't reach it, I was too small. So I then had to run all the way around, and as the timer hit 1, I got teleported back to Orgrimmar. And I was pissed. I've had enough for the day again, and in fact, I took a few days off WoW, and when I returned, things again be different. And that's a good different, because I can now go a bit further with my gearing. You see, when this SOD event started, we was locked into phases, which was level 25, 40, 50, and finally the max. And now at max, we're locked into what raids we can do. And while leveling, it was super fun. At max level, I started to not really feel the benefits of being guild locked, and more the negatives. I was stood on top of a pillar, taking on dragons, doing strategies I've never seen. The WoW community is truly unique with finding different ways to tackle tasks, or cheese encounters. However, I didn't know that this was a soft reserve raid. The leader never gave me a link, or told me, and I was one of the last players through the door. So when I finally win an item, he gave it to somebody else. And as they're not in my guild, I can't trade them, meaning I lose my item because of someone else's mistake. Fun. We end up wiping on the boss. No biggie, wipes happen. And we talk about tactics again and positioning, and we go and fight again. Emerus is a bit of a pain because he puts debuffs on you and sleeping clouds, so tanks really want to have him facing a corner of the tree. But our tank was struggling, bad positioning wise, and everything was all over the place. The dots in the debuffs are just insane. I mean, he puts a debuff on you, making if you cast a spell, it has a 12-second cooldown. It was not a good time. The tank then left and our leader brought in his friend who apparently knew exactly what to do, and we would one-shot it after many wipes. And where to position the boss. That was also a big fat lie. He couldn't get aggro, had the boss breathing into the raid, and it was just all around a rough time. We all did our best trying to kill the dragon, but Emerus was just too strong, mechanics was way too much for us, and just like Blackwing Glare, we failed and people left. Dragons in Season of Discovery were really kicking my arse. I also tried to do a Karazhan Crypts to get some really powerful gear. However, this group was struggling, and rather than res me, they expected me to navigate the crypts in pitch black darkness while I take ticking damage. I actually managed to do this somehow. I don't know how, I just headed down the hallways and prayed. And this is one of my favourite dungeons in Season of Discovery. But as I arrived back with my group, we was already wiping. My whole armour was red from the amount of deaths that we were having. I had to go all the way back to Orgrimmar, then back to Karazhan Crypts because thankfully I'm a warlock and I can summon myself, with the help of others of course. This was just pointless though. My run of groups was becoming tragic. I couldn't complete anything. Started to think, if I was a problem too, was it me? We died to just about everything. Perhaps we're just undergeared. I'd ping on my map where I was mind controlled, but maybe they didn't understand the pinging system. And we fall, and once again, no loot and just time wasted. Something had to change if I was ever going to make it to Scarlet Enclave. With all my coins, I went and bought the depleted Scythe of Chaos from Booty Bay. It's a quest item, and I started the quest line for a powerful Warlock artifact. The first task was quite easy, just head to Barrens and speak to the Warlock known as Doan, and turn in the depleted Scythe. This then gave me a quest, the Soul of Mischief, where I must convince Xerath to help me in the Plaguelands. After arriving at Light's Hope Chapel in the Plaguelands, I also picked up a quest, a reminder of what was coming soon, the Dread Citadel of Naxx. When helping Frodo earlier, I've hit Honoured, so now the price for me to enter that raid would be 5 arcane crystals, 2 nexus crystals, 1 righteous orb, and 60 gold. God damn, at least I don't have to worry about this right now, but it's going to be there in the back of my mind. I went off and found the imp by Northdale and had a look what he had to say, and my add-on was completely freaking out. It just said completed, and I've spoke to him already. I didn't really know what to do. I read through the quest over and over, and still my brain would not comprehend what the next step was. So I headed into town just looking for boxes or somewhere to place these stolen supplies, but I just couldn't figure it out. I was so lost. Then it finally came to me. I got to place them on the skull piles. Only took me half a year to figure that out, but we got there in the end. After placing 5 piles for the imp, I let him know of my good deeds, and he betrays me. Shock horror. Can't trust the demon, and I one-shot him for it. He has no loot, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do this. I read the quest, and I'm pretty sure that I need a soul. So I wait around 5 to 10 minutes for the guy to respawn, and I had a think, and if I need a soul, well, as a warlock I've got an ability, Drain Soul. So 2 and 2 together, I started to drain it, and I obtained the Soul of Mischief. That was easier than I thought it would be. Hopefully the whole quest line is like this. The next quest wanted me to get the Soul of the Void, and Void is Void Walker, I'm guessing. So I'm thinking this has got something to do with warlock pets. No biggies, Void Walkers are just tanks. Easy enough to deal with. I had to head to Corrin's Crossing, a town full of undead creatures, and I just don't want to waste time clearing them out one by one because I'm in that go-go mentality. I think I've got a lot of gear, so I can probably just mass pull a few things, and yeah, I've got 2 world buffs, so I should be okay. Then I'm taking a little bit more damage than I thought. The mobs in Season of Discovery do hit really hard. And before I know it, my imp has died, a servant is killing me, and I am swarmed by the undead, and I fall. In literally 5 to 10 seconds, that whole thing escalated. Maybe I shouldn't be underestimating the world around me, and the corpse run for that is a pretty long one too. Lesson learned, slow down. I then approached the village once more, fighting my way through 1 mob at a time, even soulstoning myself. Well, I thought it would be 1 mob, but I somehow end up with 4 on me again. To top it off, these guys have a silence. I try to use everything at my arsenal to survive, but I know what's coming, and that is death once more. Thankfully I soulstoned myself, but what was supposed to be a 1 mob pull quickly turned into the village descending on me. So another lesson learned. Pull 1 mob where it stands and kill it. If you know me though by now, you know I don't carry food because I'm silly, so regenerating health isn't always as easy as it's supposed to be. I am a warlock, so this does give me other tools to do that, and I'm pulling mobs one at a time and I'm doing okay now. But zombies are summoned, unseen servants seem to be stealthed all around the area, and they're immune to fear. And I barely scrape by, but I'm okay, I'm not gonna die. Well, I thought I was until a random skeleton decides to start throwing shadow balls at my arse and I die again. Eventually, I clear through this house, slowly but surely. It was rough, these mobs really hurt me, I underestimated them and I suffered for it. I make it to the table, I click it, I'm doing the shadow ritual of sacrifice, and I die. I wait to be rezzed, but nothing happens. I've got no clue what's going on, but this game is kicking my arse. I check what I'm supposed to do, and I'm supposed to negate the damage taken with my tank form and a spellstone, as well as using a rune called Infernal Armor that absorbs magic damage. That makes a lot of sense thinking about it. So I go into my tank form now, I craft myself a spellstone, and because I've got no food, I get a little bit impatient waiting to regen, and I'm like, I'm a tank with a spellstone, surely it can't be that much damage now, right? I'll be okay. And just as I'm about 1 tick away of completing the ritual, I die again. On my way back, I realise I have an ability that reduces my magic damage, Infernal Armor. It's not a passive that I thought it was. I'm so stupid. But I've died that many times that the mobs all around me have respawned. With no way to get health, no mana, no imps, I'm truly a weak adventurer surrounded by these absolute savages. And the unseen servants, god damn I hate these unseen servants, which you can tell from my mad screen shaking with my mouse now. I know I'm dead again. Which means clearing through that whole area again. Absolutely raging at myself, I take rare sickness and I go all the way back and buy food. I am not putting myself through the torture I just went through again. I've got to be prepared. Season of Discovery is a bit easier than Classic, but it is still Classic to an extent, and shit hurts. I went back and prepared my food, drinks, the whole shabam. I now know what I've got to do. And then I see dead corpses outside. is somebody else here. I fight my way in through all the stragglers left behind before I see a warlock out of mana and about to die too. I invite her to a party and I fight by her side and ask her, is she on the Scythe? And she's on the same quest as me and says,
Holy, these ghost mobs are fucking annoying.
yeah, 100% agree, glad it's just not me. And she also says,
I need food, lol, forgot to buy.
must be a lot thing. Then I notice a third warlock running as we're preparing. I could have done with a backup 30 minutes ago, however this time I know what's going to happen with the table. I buff up, use my spellstone and my armour, and I prepare myself for all the damage that I take during this ritual of sacrifice. Then the Void Walker finally appears, comes out, and all three of us drain its soul, finally giving me the soul of the Void. And I'm hoping this can't get any worse because that was rough. While I was cooking in real life, the warlock I just did this with messaged me saying, shall we do the follow-up? And I'm on a timer with my air fryer, so I was like, sure. I took the next quest as Soul of Enthralling and saw that Freebie was miles away, all the way near Naxx. I took my fire horse and I started covering the distance, running across the whole entirety of the Plaguelands. By the time I meet Freebie, they're already fighting the elite Slaughterhouse Protectors. But these guys are a lot easier to deal with compared to them freakily insanely strong mobs back in town we faced. We used a scroll on a portal and we summoned a succubus and incubus and drained their souls to get the soul of Enthralling. That was a nice little breather. We then headed to get the soul of Devouring next. It required us to find a Fell Hunter. The shadow mages around Blackwood Lake had a small chance to summon them when you're fighting them. So I went on a slaughtering spree, taking them down one by one, waiting for the summon to happen. But they were really stubborn, or maybe my damage was too much, as kill after kill, no Fell Hunter. Until when slightly not paying attention, checking my map to make sure I'm in the right place, I get jumped by a few shadow mages. Their shadow bolts really hurt a lot, and they also respawn really fast. And as I'm about to fall to their onslaught, a ravenous Fellhound spawns. I try to drain its soul, but I'm too weak and I die. Luckily for me, once the Fellhound spawns, it doesn't go anywhere. It's still there with its master, but I'm not sure for how much longer. So I quickly try and get myself as ready as I can and just drain its soul before it disappears, and I get myself the soul of the Devouring. And with all that done, we get the quest, the final test, and that's to head to Demon Fall Canyon. The quest I did earlier in Fellwood, which gave me the ward, comes in really freaking handy right now as I got to go into that dungeon, and because I've finished with reels, I was never going to do it, so that is why I said it will pay off. I find Dolan outside and he tells me I can't go in with a group of adventurers, I gotta go in alone, no party. My Scythe has now drained many demons, it should be strong enough for what's to come. I head into the portal in the dungeon, no clue what to expect, and I go to run ahead, but there's the elite demons, that will absolutely smash me to pieces, I can't do this. So I have a think for a second and read my quest, and I notice there's a little path to my left, and up there is a dark ritual stone. I didn't know if I'd die once again clicking it, but I do click it and I summon Death Attack. I try to drain his soul, but nothing happens. So I just cast an Immolate, followed by a Conflagrate, and this guy's got absolutely no health at all. I quickly kill him and I loot the soul of Death Attack. When I click the soul, it then combines and creates the Scythe of Chaos, a warlock weapon. A massive damage upgrade for me with a really unique effect. If it procs, I can sacrifice my demon for a huge fire shadow buff. It also will give me an instant cast proc. So now my rotation has way more depth managing this. But the main thing is, it looks freaking awesome. And after all that suffering, I can say it was worth it. Look at this. But in order to achieve my actual goal of getting to the Enclave, I needed more gear. This then would lead us to the Naxx raid. As we now approach the final raids, I decided to do some quests for the Scarlet Enclave raid. I can't enter it yet, but I can do a few quests. Calderin right now is our ally, and he wants us to go and take on a few Scarlet Siege commanders, which with our first stun and our gear, we manage quite easily. There's a lot of back and forth to the base camp and then to Light's Hope Chapel, as Beatrix literally says the Marvel line.
We're in the endgame now.
And we get our first raid quest to confront Balnazar, and that is all we can do now, have the quest. But there is something else, and that is to start working towards getting ready for a Naxx raid. It's a last stop before Scarlet Enclave, so it's a good idea to start working on this now. And what do you mean by working on it? It's just a raid, just do the quest. Nope, I need to do something called invasions. All around some zones are mass armies of undead. that when you kill, do damage to a crystal in the middle of it. Once you've done enough damage, cultists will spawn to try and repair the crystal. You speak to them and out comes a Shadow of Doom. These are the guys you need, because once it dies, it leaves behind a crystal. You got to loot it, but I can't loot it. And when I try, there's nothing inside. What have I missed? Have I messed up already? I head back to where everybody's turning in the quest, and then I realise I needed to get a repeatable quest called Never at Rest. This is because we need a currency called Remnants of Valor. Every time you hand in a Heart of Doom, you get a total of 300, and I needed to get 3,150. So it's just running back and forth, collecting the Hearts of Doom from them shadows and turning it in. You can only kill 4 of them at a time before an invasion stops, and then you've got to move around the whole zone, running further and further each time. The plus side about these invasions are epic gear dropping, which is sanctified. It's mandatory for Naxx. The issue is, when a piece drops, everybody on the server needs it, so getting some will be hard. I then spent around 1 hour farming out these Hearts of Dooms, turning in the quest over and over, running around the whole zone, and eventually I farmed out the amount I needed. It wasn't hard, just time consuming. I also purchased all of the materials I needed from guildies for the quest, the Dread Citadel Naxx, and I turned it in to get attuned to the raid, so now I can finally enter, but it's not left me with much cash to spare. I then travel across the Plaguelands until I arrive at Naxx. When I enter the raid, this is why I needed to farm the Remnants of Valor. I speak to an orc inside there, Cug Softjaw, and I can receive something called the Seal of Dawn. This increases my damage and health inside Naxx for each piece of sanctified gear I've got. However, to keep increasing its rank, it requires Remnants of Valor, which I've just farmed out, so I just keep turning in the quest over and over until I reach the max rank, 7. Then I just delete all of the other ones and I equip my rank 7 one, which increases my health and damage for each piece of sanctified gear I have by 21%. That is a massive boost. One thing that was getting kind of boring now was this Fire Horse. My Valiant steed has served me well, but while going to try and get some sanctified gear, keeping up with my party was just not happening. The 60% had finally ran its race, but with 100 gold to my name, I wasn't getting an upgrade anytime soon. And to top things off, when we finally arrive at an invasion, which was on the whole other side of the Plaguelands by the way, so it took me ages to cross from one side to the other on my Fire Horse, there was only one Shadow of Doom left. It dies and I don't get my sanctified chest piece, meaning now I've got to run all the way back to Lightsoap Chapel. When I finally get there, I couldn't access the vendor either because I missed another quest. What quest was this? Shadow of Doom, which requires me to kill one, so it's time to wait around for another invasion. I accept a quest while I'm here though, which I know I'll need for Naxx, Echoes of War. It needs us to kill lots of mobs inside there. After around an hour or so of waiting about, I do another invasion and I kill myself a Shadow of Doom, turn in the quest, and now I can speak to this lovely troll. For some necrotic runes, I can buy myself Gloves of Undead Cleansing, a sanctified piece of gear. And as I turn in my remainder of quests, I realise I can now purchase a shoulder enchant as well. For 5 Argent Dawn Valor tokens, I can buy Soul of the Arsonist, which increases my fire damage each time I press conflag up to 10%. Now we're talking. Also, shout out to this priest who must have seen how my bad luck was in my videos with my Traveller's Backpack and randomly traded me one, you absolute legend. I was then about to do something really stupid, and that was try and solo an invasion. You see, I'd already bought the gloves, which was 1 piece of sanctified gear. I needed 7 pieces. The rares here can drop you the sanctified gear, a chest piece, and bracers. I actually managed to tag and take down a rare all by myself, but he drops me a leather piece. I could join a group, but I run into the same issue of not being able to win an item or having to roll against so many players. So I had a plan. I saw 2 shamans AoE farming the mobs, and the cultist was up. I then see that the shamans die, and the army of undead are chasing other things. So I run in and I summon a Shadow of Doom. I get the tag, my imp dies, and I've got an army of undead on my arse. But they lose aggro, and they start running away. So it's just me and the Shadow of Doom. But this guy isn't like the rare I just killed. He hits extremely hard and I die very fast, only doing about 10% of his health in total. I quickly soulstone myself back up and he just starts charging off into the distance too. Maybe with my pet and full health and buffs I actually stand a chance. I look around and I don't see him respawning, but I do see people fighting off in the distance. When I run over, I see that they killed the Shadow of Doom for me. I loot the body and it's got the exact robes that I needed. What a result. Holy moly, that is lucky. This now gives me a 2 set of sanctified gear, and I can leave this place. This could not have gone better for me. The reason I wanted these certain pieces of gear too is because of its effect. It basically acts as if you had 2 extra sanctified pieces. So if I wear a total of 4, it's like I've equipped 6. It's really strong, and that was Invasion's done. But I still needed more pieces of sanctified gear, and I needed it fast. I went back to Karazhan Crypts with Bega, a tank shaman, nearly full best in slot gear, and we're buffed with world buffs, and surely this time we can make our way through it, right? Well, we don't get off to the best start, as we seem to overpull a lot of the mobs, which results in our healer dying, followed by our tank falling, and a pretty quick wipe to start off the instance with. We then run back in and we rebuff, but we're stood in the Hunter's Flare, scared to go into the depths. Without the light, we didn't move. The tank dies again and comes in and basically gets us like he's our escort, saying he was waiting for us. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but we were too chicken shit to move into the dark, really. Aesthetically, I'll say it again, this is the best dungeon ever in World of Warcraft. I love it. The dark tunnels, the light that you need, the terrors in the background, the eyes that pierce through the darkness staring at you, lost corridors. It's all just so good. And if Classic Plus does dungeons like this Crypts, I'm going to be a very happy player. However, just because it's a cool dungeon doesn't mean it's not without its difficulty. This place can be hard. We died a lot to random things, random trash, healers getting fed into mobs, the darkness consuming us. We went through it all. In fact, we died that many times. We went through all of Bega's world buffs and we still had bosses left to go, as he tells us he's basically only got 1 or 2 left, so stop dying to basic shit. So not even a minute later, I end up pressing Shadowbolt Volley again, which goes off into Narnia, pulling extra mobs, and insta-dying to basic shit. I don't think I'm ever going to learn with that spell, I probably shouldn't use it. The real test of difficulty is Karan, a Lich. Now there is a strategy that makes him a lot easier from what I remember. You pull him up to the top room above and you fight him there, but the tank is just so certain on standing behind these candles, and as he's leading, we're going to do his tactics. What makes this fight deadly is how much health he has. The fact he's in the darkness, so sometimes my spells won't connect as he phases out, making targeting him a pain in the arse. He also does an ability, the Red Death. Reminds me of the Red Death from Flash, and he phases you into darkness. Then he puts one of you in frozen chains, so you have to ping yourself on the minimap so you can be broken out of. On top of all that, he's got a mind control, which he constantly targets our tank with. As a geared tank with world buffs, it's pretty hard to break him down. But we do manage to stabilise, all we have to do is keep repeating these mechanics and we are taking a hell of a lot of damage. We just don't seem to cope with the healing part, and our tank does fall. And with a tank dead, that's a wipe. We're now down to our very last world buffs, our last shot at him. We jump down the well onto the bones of all of his enemies and we get ready for the fight against the Lich once more. Things get off to a good start, we're doing alright damage and nobody's dead. We can't even afford 1 death. Our damage might not be enough as it is. We're stood behind the candles and he casts a Red Death once more and we all avoid it. His health is now going down pretty bloody fast. This is it, this is the kill. I ping where I'm frozen and we deal with everything, but he casts his second Red Death and our hunter for some reason panics and runs through it rather than back and dies. I don't think it's possible now. Our top damage is dead, but we keep persevering. I really wanted to try and at least get a sanctified piece of gear and clear this pace. We've now been fighting him for over 3.5 minutes. He's slowly going down, but then he mind controls our tank again. We deal with the mind control just barely and Chiron doesn't give a shit. Our tank can't re-get threat and he beats the crap out of me. With now 2 DPS dead, it was over. Chiron was too much for us. Our group fell, and without any world buffs, everyone said, that's enough. And we called it. Another failure. How could I get sanctified gear? How could I defeat Calderon in the Enclave? Things was looking bleak. I did have a plan though. I managed to sneak an invite into an Naxx raid, hard mode 2 version, which I think is a lot easier than the usual that they go for. However, they still expect sanctified gear. I'd now gotten the full 3 set, so that meant I had a 5 pieces out of the total 7. So I headed to Booty Bay, bought myself some undermined supply crates with my leftover coins because in these bad boys you get yourself a lot of materials. And if you're lucky, these orbs and obsidian shards make you hundreds and hundreds of gold. So I hope this is going to help me with consumables and buying any more gear I need. But then I didn't have time to sell things or buy gear on the auction house. The summon came out. I was going to my Naxx raid. 5 total items out of 7 wasn't too bad. I just had to hope they wouldn't notice. This would be a fantastic way to try and get some more gear, sanctified too, and help me get to the Scarlet Enclave. And it works. We fill up, buff up, and get ready to go. I put my soft reserves on tier items because that is the main aim here. And we're off. And oh my goodness me, what the hell is this hunter's damage? That is Ashbringer AoE for you, god damn. In fact, it was Ashbringer's single target too. These guys in here was massively overgeared. I'm not sure if they're targeting a specific item, but him and a Warlock was absolutely dominating the charts, giving our whole raid a smooth sailing time, killing bosses like Patchwork in under 60 seconds. We spent more time clearing all the trash in the wings than we did on bosses. A Wand of Fate's dropped that's rolled out, and I'm the only one to roll on it. So I get myself a really nice wand upgrade instantly. What a way to start this raid. Bosses was falling over, and I guess this is because it's on the easier difficulty, as SOD raids have quite a few different difficulties. I think Naxx has a total of 4, and we're only on 2. My shoulders I soft reserved also dropped, and there was one other person on them. I've been pretty unlucky so far in my journey, I think. Can I get a better luck now? The leader rolls them out, and I think screw it, I'm going to roll first, and I get a massively high 93, while the other guy goes 17, and that is a tier shoulders acquired. Thaddeus, the big construct that reminds me of Frankenstein, was a fun fight as always. I love seeing the big numbers, even if I am not to be seen on the DPS meters right now. And my helmet tier drop too. Once again, I got a 50-50 chance of winning it. I roll first again, and I get a huge 97 compared to his 94, giving me now 2 tier pieces. We blasted our way through all of the wings of this place, slaying undead after undead, arriving at the 4 horsemen. This used to be a really tough fight for people, but it's all solved now. One tank takes each horseman to its corners. Don't let your debuffs get too high, and it's GG. But it couldn't be a Naxx raid without somebody messing this up, causing us all to instantly die, giving you a shit long run back through the whole entire military ward. It's very long to run through. Turns out the loot gods aren't done taking sacrifices either. In this chest of goodies is a robe that only I reserved, giving me the tier chest piece, and that is now 3 whole items acquired. I'm over the moon. I couldn't really ask for anything else now, and the raid didn't really hold anything else other than the 3 items I wanted. I did get myself a cloak though, giving me basically full sanctified gear after 1 run, and putting me in a really good spot going forward for Naxx. I just needed a few more items before I could potentially try my hand at Scarlet Enclave, but something would now happen that made me realise how fast this event actually has gone. Frodo Bangin, also known as Forks, quit Season of Discovery. In fact, he quit WoW entirely until Classic Plus would come out. I started this journey with 2 friends, and now I'm on my own. He sent my Warlock all of his consumables and all of his gold from every character he's played over the years, and said put it to good use. And quite frankly, I was also sick of being guild locked. It was fun at the start, but now it's just a hindrance. With the last phase now available, and we've only got to wait until Guzu clears his raid. I didn't really want my gaming experience to be based around one person's progress, even though I'm very happy for the event. And knowing one of my closest friends has now retired, I decided to put that gold to good use. Use it in funding my efforts in taking down Calderon once and for all. Clearing SOD one final time. I don't usually take gold donations off anyone, but how can I not from him? I'd played through each SOD with him, and now it was just left for me to finish this. One thing I decided to put the gold towards though was my epic mount. It was something I was never going to walk towards in this short Season of Discovery time, so what better way to honour him than to ride around on my now fast purple fiery horse. And every time I mount up, I'll remember him. I'm sure I could put a mum joke in there. He would respect that if I did. I don't really need the mount if I'm being honest. We're really close to the finale, and I've done 60% for a long time, but speed is speed. With all the tier I've just acquired from Naxx, I went ahead and got the materials needed to exchange it for the Plague Heart gear. The head, the shoulders, and the chest. I always go through them 3 first. And not only is that a huge power creep, it's because it always looks a cool list. The Plague Heart set is one of my favourite tier 3 sets in the game. It looks awesome, and now we're finally getting somewhere. With the remaining bit of gold I had left from Forks and from all the coin selling I did, I bought something called Scarlet Uniform. I needed to do a quest which was to use something called the Scarlet Insignia, and in order to use this insignia, you needed 4 Scarlet items. But I forgot that the quest line I was doing ended up in a weekly quest. I'm on a strict time schedule. I don't really have 3 weeks to get 1 piece of tier gear. I also forgot that you must click the insignia, otherwise the elites here will destroy your very soul and kill you. Scarlet Enclave was getting closer. I could smell it. The raid reset giving me one last chance at rushing an Naxx, trying to snag some tier. So just on cue, I say open the gates, and they actually open. I guess they're ready for me. Here we once again smash through all the bosses. Naxx is just a loot fiesta, and I managed to win myself some desecrated bindings. When we then killed the big mushroom boss, Loaf B, which I found out is an anagram for Healbot, he drops 2 desecrated leggings. Me and one other person reserved them, so I also got myself another piece. One funny thing is pug leaders on the military wing can have a hard time. If priests mess up their mind control, you can end up with quite a few wipes, which is what was happening to our group. I think we died like 5 or 6 times to the same thing over and over, and we had another pull. Only one person died and the boss was at like 25%, and the leader's just spamming run, 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 and we all ignore him and stay. And then we get the boss to 10% and he's still saying run, run, run again. And we're all dying, but the boss is so low, why would we run? The raid ignores him and we end up killing the boss. It also wouldn't be a Naxx run without a huge wipe on the horseman, just like clockwork. But this was it. I got myself some more tier pieces. I got more gear. I think it was time to try and do the Scarlet Enclave, clear the raid, and complete this journey in Sod for the last time. I exchanged my items and I ended up with 6 pieces of Plague Heart in total, giving me all the set bonuses for my Warlock. I had around 1100 gear score, which in Season of Discovery people actually use gear score, but I was mostly fully epic and I looked the part. I just had to find a raid willing to take me there. No Hit Jerome was hosting one I could go to and I can sign up on Discord, but I ended up leaving Guzu's guild and joining LMG. I decided to try and go with his raid, as I know he's been doing this for ages, hosting a lot of runs, and he raids in the morning, which is just perfect for me. The issue was, I had to keep waiting to try and get in. Days would pass, nothing. I was still trying to get in, trying to find a run. I wasn't even sure if I was going to find the perfect raid. While chilling at the chapel, I see a gnome warlock causing havoc. Typical little wretches, but he dies. He respawns. I tried to kill him myself, but the guards swarm on me in seconds, and I'm put in the dirt. However, I can't let a gnome live. I respawn and start casting a huge soulfire as a rogue attacks him at the same time, taking the guard's attention, and I land the killing blow, putting another one of them in the dirt. Oh, God, I always have to show my gnome kills. Then it happened. It was a new day, and I got an invite into a raid. He was sorting through everybody, and I noticed that my UI was a shit show thanks to Blizzard's changes. So if I'm going to perform and actually be alive to kill Calderam, I needed to sort this absolute horror show out. I had all my consumables I needed in the world. My bags was heaving. I'd cleared this place before. Why was I nervous? I didn't want to mess up. If I die, I'd be dead again on the last boss, and I don't know if I'd get another shot. It was all for nothing. As the summon arrived, I entered the portal and into the Scarlet Enclave. I wasn't going to do this raid weekly. Sod's time was slowly running out. I wasn't interested in farming every item best in slot either. I wanted to clear this raid. I wanted to kill the boss. I wanted to be alive for it, and this was it. I use all of my consumables as we park at Tyr's hand. I make sure I've got absolutely everything on for the maximum amount of damage. I knew I wouldn't compete with the top parsers or the fully stacked people with Ashbringers, but I was here, in front of Balnazar. My friends, gone. Just me on my own now. The timer runs down, and we all pull Balnazar. I'm nervous. Sure, I've been here, but I can't quite remember the tactics perfectly. I move straight away to the range group and I try and mirror what they're doing while throwing out as much damage as I possibly can. My numbers are certainly much higher now. In fact, the raids are compared to what I remember, as Balnazar then flies to the sky. We stand on these light portals to not die to the darkness within, and if you get a debuff, you gotta run out. Melee take down the ads surrounding us while ranged nuke him in the sky. Eventually, he does come back down and the final burn phase begins. An Infernal falls out of the sky. The tanks need to pick them up, but he just melees me and I go down instantly. Floor point of view on the first boss. Not the start I wanted. We do kill the first boss quite easily, and I'm reminded by how strong the gear in here actually is. My weapon, the Scythe of Chaos, has 77 spell damage. This tank dagger spell one, 177. Holy crap, the difference. We then turn in the quest for killing him, and then we get a quest, Red is dead. On to the next boss. As you clear your way through New Avalon, which is actually the Death Knight starting zone if you didn't know, this whole raid kinda is, you have to clear a shit ton of trash. I forgot how many elites you actually have to kill in this place. I'm curious, if you guys like raids with minimal trash and you kind of go from boss to boss, or do you like having trash where you can kind of have a joke on Discord and grab your drinks and stuff? Let me know. I think personally, I'm probably more minimalistic trash between bosses. As you clear your way further in and all the trash falls, you're greeted by an army, with Beatrix at the head of it. You're trapped now, there's only one way to go and that's further inside. They all must die. When the fight starts, you're quickly surrounded from all flanks, and as heroes of the Horde you must withstand her onslaught. Cannons and artillery shoot at you, flanking horses with javelins charge you causing damage, and sorcerers and mages cast huge infernos where the whole raid must soak or you'll die. Then Beatrix finally joins the fight, and now you got to deal with all of this mechanics at the same time while killing her. Her health is going down really fast. Then I see a marking on the floor and I'm like, yeah, I've got to soak this, it's red, remember? Yeah, you don't soak that. And half the raid dies with me. Beatrix is already low, so the raid stabilizes and bring down the highest commander, but that's twice now. If I can't survive basic mechanics on the first two bosses, how am I going to survive Calderon? I needed to fix up and fix up fast. I do get myself an item, a tier piece which I reserve, which is nice going forward, but for now I don't care about loot. I need to improve. With Beatrix down, you move further into the town, in the burnt down ruins with trees aflame are light gorged whelps protecting the area. Dragonkin have been feasting on the light, though right in the middle, surrounded by some, is Silistraza. Probably said that wrong. This fight is truly a unique one. Fire comes down from the sky as she casts a spell called Cremation. It's a firebomb that targets a ranged group and leaves fire on the floor. So you want to stack as a group and move. She flies into the air and dives bombs on the floor, summoning adds that you have to AoE down. But when her health reaches 0, the fight isn't over. She switches forms, powers up. She targets someone and does a Crimson Flare ability that you want on the outskirts of the room. But somebody puts it slap bang in the middle because why not? Then her final form, she casts Light Forge and now you gotta burn her down as fast as possible. Cremations are everywhere, fire is engulfing the room, flares are going out, the ranged are becoming trapped in an inferno, people are starting to die. Her health is just evaporating though, and it's a good job too. As she comes down to a last little sliver, we are truly trapped with no way out, but we destroy the dragon. We ventured further in and we took on a huntsman who for some reason only grabbed the footage of me stood on a roof, once again showcasing the strategies World of Warcraft players find, as well as taking on the pirate leader Mason the Echo. It's a pretty simple tank and spank for DPS and you don't stand in shit on the floor. Then he goes into a bubble where tanks have to board the pirate ships and shoot him with a cannonball. Pretty cool fight if I'm being honest. I remember being hard stuck on here like week 1 when it first came out and everybody just died. But now people know what they're doing. It's a cakewalk. My gloves dropped too, so I'm getting even more gear. However, with Mason now down and the outside cleared, our raid was told to head to Naxx to help somebody out with the Ashbringer quest. Not all of us did need to go, so I headed to the place where I take my insignia and my 4 items. By exchanging a Scarlet uniform piece, you can turn in a quest. However, I only had 4 pieces and I need them for my disguise. I stupidly crate one of my items, meaning now everything is hostile to me and my disguise is broken. I can't even turn in the quest. My imp then decides to start attacking all the elite mobs and I'm fully buffed up with world buffs and they're about to summon me back to the raid for the final push. If I mess up, I could just be kicked from the raid. Thankfully, a Night Elf Hunter with Ashbringer starts taking down the mob, gets me out of combat and I quickly accept the last summon back. That was close. As we enter the raid for the final push into the monastery, we take flight upon a griffin, which might be one of the only times that Horde ever get to ride these creatures. I could be wrong, but I think it is. With the outside of the Enclave taken care of, we swap the open areas for the really claustrophobic corridors. There's 30 of us storming this place, taking on more powerful lieutenants and commanders like Granis, who shoots out light beams from the floor and gives you a real top-down perspective on the fight. I could also see the outside of the map here, which was pretty immersion breaking, but we're definitely inside this place. Thousands of Scarlet trainees were sent to their death by Calderon. They tried to take us down with them, but we're too strong, and they can't handle it. This is before we approach the room, where Herod, Doan and Vicious have now been raised in undeath. The very thing the Scarlet Crusade despise. Their powerful soldiers were now abominations. The fight begins and you fight them all at the same time. Melee have one job, kick Vicious. If you don't, it's game over and everybody nukes down the mage Doan. Now I stand with the ranged group again because I forgot what I needed to do. Then I see the molten beams coming with lava filling the centre of the circle. I'm moving and dodging them and I'm not taking damage. But I see the range just stood there, tanking the fire last time, so surely it's not that bad if they tanked it. So I stand there and tank it too. Bad call, some range survived but me and a Tauren didn't. Why do I follow what other people do? I should have just kept moving even if it was a DPS loss. 3rd time now, back on the floor with the others. I'd done so well going forward, but a stupid decision had just cost me. With only 2 bosses left now, time was running short. And of course my reward for eating dirt is a pair of tier gloves. The loot gods really do only pay out when you bleed for it. Standing now in the way between us and the last boss is Lillian Voss. That's right, if you play WoW you know her as an undead, an ally of the Horde. Here, she's not turned yet, she's human, and unfortunately, she's gotta go. It's a small room we have to fight in and she does different poisons. Red, you take a stacking fire damage dot and you gotta spread out, and healers really gotta pump out the heals, and you can use a greater fire protection potion to help out. She will then chain you in with Scarlet Grasp before putting green poisons on people. Don't stand in this circle, you're gonna take a lot of damage and die. It's a fight where spreading out is the aim of the game, and finally she'll put another potion on you, which you have to jump every few seconds, because if the stack becomes too much, you'll be frozen in place, paralysed. The thing with Lillian though is, she doesn't have much health, and we absolutely melt through her, only losing one player, and she falls. That's it, we've cleared through the Enclave, took down the creatures and bosses in front of us. There was only one thing in between me and my sod journey. As you get closer to his room, it becomes darker. He's got the Ashbringer, the legendary weapon, uncorrupted by sacrificing the souls of all the Scarlet Zealots. And there he was, stood atop with the light beaming on him. You move to the side and you see just a human. This guy isn't any human. He's a psycho with a powerful weapon. And with that weapon, he truly is formidable. It was time for us to engage. He has a few phases and this was phase 1. You begin the fight and everybody stacks up as he starts building up his holy energy. We take taking damage from just this holy power alone as he cycles through the paladin spells. Wake of Ashes doing devastating damage, blinding flare which you've got to turn away from, and then finally divine conflagration. A circle on somebody that will cause a huge explosion of fire, burning everybody inside to a crisp. So as his Scarlet Martyrs come out to lay down their life for him, we put them in the fire so they burn. He's got a lot of health, so we're doing okay and we stabilise. There's not one fire pool, there's 2. So you gotta position them at either side. Melee are on top of him, range behind, forming a line. We deal with that and then we damage the Ashbringer, destabilising it. Everything he's ever done has now backfired. The blade is once again corrupted, and outside his monastery, the world is now on fire. Ashes rain down from the fallen. He now has dark spells as the Ashbringer is corrupted once more, and he still thinks he's the light's champion. But when we get him low, we find out the actual fight is never with Calderon. He's pathetic. It's against the Ashbringer itself. It starts to cast Dark Graven Blade. As if it finishes its cast, we're all dead. We begin nuking the shit out of it, and we actually win the DPS race against this perfect weapon. Now Calderon has nothing but just a hilt left. His abilities, pathetic. No more damage. He's a broken man. And I survived the fight, killing Calderon and clearing the Scarlet Enclave. I wasn't one of the highest DPS in this raid, but I did it. After over 100 hours, I took a lock through the community event, experienced each phase how it was, I got to 60 and I managed to go and do the Scarlet Enclave before Season of Discovery once again quieting down. I thought I was done with it when I got the Ashbringer and my warrior's journey came to an end, but this gave me a last shot at experiencing it once more. I have high hopes for Classic Plus. My Shaman, my Priest, my Warrior and finally my Warlock all had epic adventures on Season of Discovery with new friends and foes, so if you've not seen them, I really recommend it. Now it was time to end my Season of Discovery adventures and look forward towards new adventures. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next one.